Hello everyone, this is Mike. Welcome to my channel, Mike the Tech Savvy. In this video I have here a pretty interesting device, one of the devices that I used quite a lot as a daily driver, a Google Pixel 3a, which is in pretty good shape, I would say like brand new. This device will assist me today in showing you how to install and why would you want to have CalyxOS on your Pixel device. I will start off by showing you exactly how to proceed from a bog standard Pixel stock ROM, and then I'll talk a bit about the ROM itself and we will discuss some advantages and disadvantages compared to a stock ROM. I've already released a video on Graphene OS. CalyxOS is somehow derivative from that one. It too was designed with privacy in mind, and on the official website you can find out a lot of information. You can pause the video here to take a look at what advantages you have. Basically the biggest advantage and the most obvious one is a de-Googled Android, which is something that we could say for Graphene OS as well. And of course you have the power to basically do whatever you want with your device without any privacy concerns. Let's get on with the installation process. It is not very complicated to do it. I will of course link the installation instructions to the video description. I'm now following the official instructions, which can be seen here at the following link, and which are pretty easy to follow, and yes, quite similar to the Graphene OS instructions, just because the ROMs are so similar. Let's start off with the prerequisites. You should have at least 2 GB of free memory available on the PC. I don't think this is an issue for anyone. You will need to have an unlocked variant of one of the supported devices, and now that we reached this point, I will show you what devices can you install CalyxOS on. As you can see here, we have a complete list of devices. Other than the typical Pixel devices that you might expect, we also have the Xiaomi Mi A2, which is really interesting. This device was released by Xiaomi and came with Android 1. Probably in the near future we will have the Pixel 5 and the Pixel 4a 5G. In my case, of course, I will use the Sargo, so the Google Pixel 3a zip file. Again, this ROM, identical to the Graphene OS, it is mostly available for Pixel devices, so if you have any other device, well, tough luck. Usually it's best practice to update the stock OS just to make sure you have the latest version. In my case, I will show you right now. We do have the November security patch level, which is more than enough and is the latest one at this point. Once we're done with this, we should obtain fastboot on the PC, and this is of course done via the exact same method that I showed you with the Graphene OS. If you're using a Windows machine like I am, you will need to download the SDK from the Google website. You can see the link here. Of course, everything will be listed in the video description below, and you can download it from here. Very simple. It's a one-click action. After you've unzipped it, I would recommend 7-zip for this. You should sample an output from fastboot -- version, and this should be as recent as possible. In my case, I have 30.0.5, which is a bit more recent than what you can see in this tutorial. Now you'll need to take a look at the phone itself. You'll need to enable OEM unlocking, and this is not so complicated. Let me just show you. To enable OEM unlocking, go into settings. First of all, you will need to enable the developer options, and for this you will go into About Phone, scroll down at the bottom and just tap the build number until this pops up. You are now a developer. Once you've done this, it's simple enough. Go into System, scroll down, Developer Options, and now you can see this option here, OEM unlocking. Tick it, click Enable. That's it, you're done. Now you should proceed with unlocking the bootloader, as we can see right here. In order to do this, we will first need to reboot into bootloader mode, and we should turn off the device and then turn it on by holding both the volume down and power buttons. Volume down and power at the same time. The phone will boot up instantly and you will see something like this, in which of course the most important thing is this one, so device state locked. Once you're in this bootloader interface, you will need to unlock it to allow for flashing of new images. This is done via the same method that we used for CalyxOS. So we will connect a USB Type-C cable from the computer to the device. We will go into the folder where we have the most recent SDK and the factory image for CalyxOS. Let's just extract the platform tools to a new folder. Now we can also check the fast boot. And indeed, we have a pretty recent version. We should check also fastboot devices just to make sure that the device is correctly connected. And indeed, we see it here. And at this point, it's as simple as typing fastboot flashing unlock. Right now, we will get this message on the device. We should press the volume keys until we have the unlock the bootloader message here, and you should confirm it by pressing the power button. Right now the phone will restart in bootloader interface mode and we will have the new device state unlocked. Let's just put the phone aside and check out the tutorial for the next instructions. So right now it directly says flashing factory images. I already downloaded the factory image. We will need to extract them and run the script to flash them, the script being the flash all bat file. Let's now unzip it. I would just use 7-zip, extract here, and then take all the files from here and copy them into the folder where you have the fastboot and everything else. That's it, and all that's left right now is to double click the flash all bat file. As you can see, it's already started and the device is performing some stuff as well. It's gonna restart for a few times, I guess. Do not be worried, everything will take about 5 minutes in total and that should be it. All the partitions that are part of an Android operating system are being written right now. And that's it. I guess it took much less than I expected, probably about 1-2 minutes in total. Of course I sped up the video for you, but that's about it. Once you've seen here finished, that's about it, and press any key to exit. And of course, after you're done with this procedure and before actually rebooting in the operating system, you should relock the bootloader immediately. This will wipe the data again, so it doesn't make any sense for you to configure the device and then to wipe it again. This is of course a security measure. CalyxOS, just like GrapheneOS, allows verified boot, something that LineageOS doesn't. So let's relock the bootloader. This is done very easily via the reverse method that we used to unlock it. Just type in a command prompt fastboot flashing lock. We're good to go. Do the reverse procedure, scroll to lock the bootloader. Bootloader is locked, and that's it. At this point you can boot up by pressing the power button. Let's do it. Of course, we have the same message as with GrapheneOS. Your device is loading a different operating system, which is kind of a blessing to see. In a Pixel device, we first have the Google logo, which we don't care that much about. And right now, this very nice boot animation for CalyxOS. It's really nice, even nicer than what we have on GrapheneOS, which is more conservative, let's call it. I don't think it should take that much time to boot up. Before I'll show you the CalyxOS itself, we have two other observations here. Once you booted the CalyxOS ROM, you can disable OEM unlocking. You don't really need it unless you want to flash another ROM. And of course, if you want to replace CalyxOS with the stock OS via the stock factory images offered by Google, you'll have to follow the exact same process as described before. But before locking, you will need to perform an additional step to fully revert the device to a clean factory state. You will have to write this into the bootloader before actually flashing the stock Google files. And I guess that's it. Right now we can start off by discussing CalyxOS. There you go. We have the start of the setup wizard. Let's type in next, language, time zone, and that's it. It automatically goes into Wi-Fi. I don't have a SIM card inserted into this device, and of course location services disabled for now. Fingerprint setup, you can set up a screen lock or not. It will definitely work without any issues. I'll skip it for now. You should always have a PIN pattern or some kind of password to protect your phone. And now you're at the point where it kind of diverges from the GrapheneOS. In GrapheneOS, at this point, it will just launch the ROM itself. In CalyxOS, you have this option where you can basically allow Google Maps, YouTube, and other apps which are dependent on the Google services to run. So this is a one-time thing, as you can see right here. You will not be able to enable it later. And yes, your phone will be able to send data to Google, and you can change this later in the micro G settings. Of course, you can go into the micro G settings and basically disable all its rights. Another additional step that you have, as opposed to GrapheneOS, you have some additional apps that you can install straight off the bat, and most of them are, let's say, privacy oriented. You do have Aurora Store, which is a Google Play Store client that I discussed in the GrapheneOS video as well. You can basically download free apps from the Google Play Store without even logging in, so with an anonymous set of credentials. You do have Briar, which is a secure messaging app. Calyx VPN, really interesting. So you basically have a free VPN service. Conversations, DevX, DuckDuckGo, privacy browser, K9, email client, a PDF viewer, Open Keychain for encryption, Orbots, RiseUp VPN, Scrambled EXIF. This is really nice if it does what I believe it does. So basically, as you can see right here, it removes the metadata from the pictures before sharing them. Signal, you can use it to replace the phone app, the messaging app, the contacts app. Tor browser, a weather app, and an authenticator. Now it will finish setting up the device. You can of course restore from a backup if you do have a backup. You can choose a local backup, a USB backup, or a Nextcloud backup. I'll go into don't restore because I don't have any backup to start with. Very nice. Very nice wallpaper, default wallpaper. It looks much nicer than I expected, to be honest. You have these weird icons which are square as opposed to, well, very stock-like on GrapheneOS. They are square here as well. All the apps that I chose previously will install here. We have a pretty basic, probably, camera app. Let's just check it out. Yes, it's the exact AOSP camera app that you find in GrapheneOS as well. You have some pretty interesting, well, and scarce, let's call it, default apps, such as the calculator, a calendar, clock, contacts. What's nice is that you have pre-installed F-Droid, Aurora Store, so it's really easy to start off. In F-Droid you can find lots of apps, most of them open source and really privacy oriented. There you go, you can find whatever apps you want. And of course, for anything that isn't present here, you have the Aurora Store, which can be used anonymously, can be used to download any kind of free apps from the Google Play Store. If you'd want to download paid apps that you might have bought in the past, you can log in, but be aware of the fact that Google might ban your account for using this store, so I wouldn't actually recommend it. Depending on your choice in the micro G option earlier, you will be able to use successfully YouTube, any type of apps that require this Google Services framework. Otherwise, you will have to use alternatives such as this app, which has offline maps and which can be used as a very good replacement for Google Maps or for Waze. Let's go quickly through the settings and check out what options do you have around here. So we do have the typical options, nothing too special. In battery, again, nothing incredible, only some basic stuff. You have the typical profiles here. Privacy, which is very important. You can see exactly what apps requested what kind of access. And you can of course use the permission manager to streamline your experience and to deny rights to certain apps. The thing that I was interested in, and I see that it's not present here, it's the vibration strength. We do have an on and off toggle basically on notifications and on anything else, but you cannot really adjust the strength. Another thing that you'll have to consider is, as you can see right here, CalyxOS is still on Android 10. This is one thing to note. Yes, you do have the latest security patch level, that's for sure, and you will always have it. This is still Android 10, whilst GrapheneOS has moved to Android 11. Probably this is the reason why we don't have certain options. Fortunately, we still have the 2-button navigation, which I like, and some other options here, including swipe fingerprint for notifications, which is exactly what the doctor ordered. And yeah, I guess that's it. Again, you might ask, why do I want to use CalyxOS? These two paragraphs here are pretty explanatory for CalyxOS and for GrapheneOS and for ROMs like this in general. If you want to use your phone in a more private manner, and of course you can get your hands on a pretty recent Pixel device, CalyxOS is a pretty good alternative to the stock ROM, and fortunately you do have very easy access to microG, so you can very easily install it and use some Google apps, which on GrapheneOS are definitely much harder to use because of this, well, non-native compatibility with microG or with the Google Services Framework. You can definitely search the internet for more information on CalyxOS. It is a ROM that I totally recommend. I will try to make a mega comparison video between the CalyxOS, GrapheneOS, and LineageOS, in which I'll discuss all the pros and cons of each, and I'll try to figure out which is the best option. Of course, check out the official website for more information, for changelogs, for anything else. This was my review and installation tutorial of CalyxOS. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please press the thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more similar videos in the future, also press the subscribe button, which will be displayed right here in the bottom left parts. Of course, all the links that I discussed about in this video can be found in the video description below, as well as my social media and Patreon links. Thank you so much once again. This was Mike the Tech Savvy. Stay safe, guys. Bye!